Citroen Racing is the newest name in Formula E, after their parent company Stellantis rebranded the Maserati team. They were also a very prominent name in rally racing, achieving 8 manufacturer championships and 9 consecutive drivers' titles. But they've never been involved in Formula 1, and I'm here to change that. I added the Citroen Racing team into F125 MyTeam and simulated the next 10 seasons of the sport. Now, starting off the simulation, Citroen will sign French driver Victor Martins and bring over Formula E driver Taylor Barnard. Now, to add a little bit more jeopardy to this simulation, I'm implementing a rule that Citroen must have a French driver driving for them or they'll be disqualified from both championships. Before we begin though, I do want to say a big thank you to all the channel members, which you can become by clicking the join button below. Also make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. McLaren have managed to replicate the 2025 season in this simulation by securing the first Constructors' Championship of the video. Ferrari finished in second, just ahead of Red Bull, while the newest Citroen Racing team were able to avoid finishing dead last and finish in P10. Taylor Barnard had the unfortunate job of finishing in last place, while Victor Martins' 2 points took him to P17. The championship contender Oscar Piastri finished down in P5, just behind both Ferrari drivers, with Hamilton in 4th and Charles Leclerc finishing inside the top 3. He finished just 30 points behind the runner-up, who would be the real-life champion of Lando Norris, unable to match his team's overall success. Instead, we would see Max Verstappen securing another World Championship and achieving that 5th title in a row. It was a fairly close title fight after Verstappen managed 6 race wins, with runner-up Lando Norris only winning 4. Third place Leclerc won 3 races, while his teammate won twice, and Oscar Piastri picked up just a single race win. After equaling the record for most titles in a row, Verstappen has decided to retire from Formula 1, with Oliver Bearman getting a big move to the title-winning Red Bull. Franco Colapinto will move over to Haas, allowing Zane Maloney to make his debut with Alpine next year. Nico Hülkenberg and Taylor Barnard will also leave the sport, with Citroen signing Frenchman Isaac Hadjar, meaning Racing Bulls bringing Pepe Marti, while the open seat at Kick Sauber is given to Paul Aron. Mercedes and McLaren will then make a deal to swap drivers, with George Russell moving to Papaya, while runner-up Lando Norris heads to the Silver Arrows. Now, alongside these moves, both the powertrain and chassis departments are hit with regulation changes. After losing their more successful driver, McLaren failed to win the title again, allowing Ferrari to gain the advantage for the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes moved up to P2, while the newest Citroen team moved up to P9. Victor Martins had a very similar season but did drop to P18, while his new teammate came in strong as Hadjar finished in P15. Sir Lewis Hamilton managed to move into the top 3 to finish in 3rd place this season, just behind the reigning runner-up Lando Norris, who remained in P2 despite moving over to Mercedes. Now, with Verstappen out of the sport, the Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc capitalised to win his first ever World Drivers' Championship. He outscored Norris by around 80 points after he managed to win 10 different races. Lando Norris would be next after he won 3 times, with Lewis Hamilton winning twice and Kimi Antonelli securing his maiden race win. Lance Stroll will leave the sport and won't return, with the newest race winner Kimi Antonelli moving to Aston Martin. George Russell is then able to move back to Mercedes, while Carlos Sainz also makes a return to drive for McLaren. Gabriel Bortoleto moves over to the improving Williams team, while Kick Sauber bring in Jack Crawford to make his debut next year. The aerodynamics department is then hit with regulation changes going into Season 3. A third different Constructors' Champion is set to be crowned, as Mercedes rose to championship glory, overtaking Ferrari, while Williams moved up to P3. The Citroen team also made some major improvements to secure a solid P5 result, after Martins moved up to P13 and Hadjar made an incredible leap up to P6. Mercedes driver Lando Norris unfortunately dropped to 3rd place this season, just ahead of Alex Albon, but over 60 points behind his teammate George Russell, who moved up to P2. Just 22 points ahead was Charles Leclerc, who managed to win a 2nd consecutive Drivers' Championship. Now, he finished the season on 7 race wins, while runner-up Russell was just behind it after he won 6. The rest of the wins were then split between Lando Norris, Alex Albon and Oliver Bearman, with the latter duo winning their first race. Another driver set to retire at the end of the season will be Fernando Alonso, with Isaac Hadjar joining the open Aston Martin seat. The new Citroen team signed Carlos Sainz, while Lewis Hamilton makes a homecoming to join McLaren. Liam Lawson is able to join Ferrari, while Victor Martin joins the Racing Bulls. Citroen will need to keep a French driver in their team, so they opt for Pierre Gasly, with race winner Alex Albon moving to Alpine, Esteban Ocon to Williams, and Zach O'Sullivan will be the newest name on the grid after he joined Haas. The aerodynamics department is then once again the target of some regulation changes. Mercedes were able to retain their Constructors' Championship, but Ferrari managed to close the gap to just 5 points. Aston Martin moved into 3rd, not too far ahead of Citroen, who stayed in P5. Both new drivers managed to stay inside the top 10 after Carlos Sainz finished in P10, while Gasly finished in P7. Once again, Lando Norris finished in 3rd place, behind his teammate of George Russell. The top three would all remain the same after Charles Leclerc retained his title to win a third championship title in a row. Leclerc managed to extend the gap to Russell to over 130 points, taking 11 race wins on his way to an incredibly dominant season. George Russell actually failed to win any races, however his teammate would take 2, while Antonelli, Esteban Ocon and Oliver Bearman all managed to win once. After returning home for a season, Lewis Hamilton is set to retire, with his illustrious career coming to an end. Esteban Ocon gets a move over to McLaren, with Kimi Antonelli moving to the high potential Williams. Alex Albon moves back to a race-winning team of Aston Martin, while Zach O'Sullivan moves to Alpine. The other Alpine driver, Zane Maloney, will move over to Haas, with Jack Crawford taking his place and Joshua Dirksen coming in to make his debut with Kick Sauber. And at the end of this season, both the chassis and powertrain departments are hit with more regulation changes. A third consecutive Constructors' Championship for the Mercedes team as they finish at the top of the standings, ahead of Williams, who moved up to P2. Citroen had a rough season which saw them drop to P8, as well as Carlos Sainz dropping to P17, while Gasly dropped to P13. Both Mercedes drivers would remain in their places, with Norris once again finishing in third place, just a single point behind his teammate George Russell, who stayed in second. Leclerc, however, would not stay at the top of the standings, after he fell to P4, with a brand new champion set to be crowned. Now, unsurprisingly, Andrea Kimi Antonelli made his way to the top of the sport to win his very first Drivers' Championship, and I think it may be the earliest he's done it in any previous simulation. He wouldn't finish too far ahead of George Russell, with both of them securing 4 race wins, much like Norris, as just 27 points separated the top 3. Leclerc won just 2 races this season, while both Oscar Piastri and Oliver Bearman saw success, winning a single race each. Kimi had an incredible season and will take a break away from the sport, with Zach O'Sullivan taking the champion's car at Williams, while Richard Shaw comes in at Alpine. Franco Colapinto will also leave Formula 1, with Pepe Martin moving to Haas, and Formula 3 icon Nicolas Solov comes in to join the Racing Bulls. Carlos Sainz is another driver who will leave the sport and possibly even enter retirement, with the Citroen team bringing in another Formula 3 icon, Tim Travnitz, to make his debut. Now, the chassis department will once again be hit with regulation changes, alongside both the aerodynamics and durability departments. After Antonelli's departure, no one could stop the Mercedes team from winning yet another consecutive Constructors' Championship, with Ferrari in P2, while Williams dropped to P4. The newest Citroen team managed to improve as they moved up to P6, while Tim Travnitz had a solid debut season in P13, but his teammate had an incredible season which saw him finish up in P5. Charles Leclerc managed to move back into the top 3 for a third place finish, finishing on the same points as Lando Norris, but the Mercedes driver will finish as the runners-up. A brand new champion is to be crowned as a result of Kimi Antonelli leaving, as the other Mercedes driver George Russell is able to secure his very first Formula 1 Drivers' Championship. He secured the most race wins after winning 5, while his teammate managed to win just 4. Oscar Piastri, Pierre Gasly and Oliver Bearman all managed to win 2 races each, while Leclerc's single race win is the reason he finished behind Lando Norris. Now, after just a single season, Nicolas Solov is dropped by the Racing Bulls, as they bring back Taylor Barnard after his early departure in Season 1. McLaren driver Esteban Ocon will leave Formula 1 after his P14 finish, with McLaren bringing in Gabriel Bortoleto, and Williams poach Citroen driver and race winner Pierre Gasly. Citroen will then bring in Isaac Hadjar to keep a French driver at the team, with Yuki Tsunoda moving to Aston Martin, opening a seat at Red Bull with a former champion Kimi Antonelli, allowing him to return to the sport. Some huge regulation changes will also come into effect, as all the performance departments, those being the aerodynamics, chassis and powertrain departments, are all hit with regulation changes. For the 5th season in a row, the Silver Arrows of Mercedes were able to win the Constructors' Championship, with the runners-up of Red Bull still over 130 points behind. Just 26 points behind them would be the Citroen team, as they record their highest finish yet. Isaac Hadjar returns with another strong performance, moving up to P7, while his teammate Tim Travnitz had an absolutely incredible season, which saw him finish just outside the top 3. Last season's champion George Russell failed to retain the driver title, dropping to 3rd place, and being overtaken by his teammate as Lando Norris finished the season as the runner-up. We will once again see the top of the standings be occupied by Kimi Antonelli, who won the title in his return season while driving for a different team of Red Bull. We saw a record 8 race winners back in the Cadillac simulation, but this season will top it with 9 different winners, including both Antonelli and George Russell, who managed 4 each. Oscar Piastri would be the only other multiple-time winner, with Norris, Travnitz, Leclerc, Hadjar, O'Sullivan and Bortoleto all winning once, with it being the first time for the majority. The real-life champion Lando Norris has yet to live up to that success, and will leave Mercedes at the end of the season and take a break from the sport as a whole, as one of the newest race winners Gabriel Bortoleto moves over to the Constructors' Champions. The Drivers' Champion will move over to McLaren, Yuki Tsunoda making a return to Red Bull, and Franco Colapinto making a return to the sport to drive for Aston Martin. Paul Aron will lose his seat at Kick Sauber, being replaced by Victor Martins, while Enzo Fittipaldi comes in to drive for the Racing Bulls. The final swap will then see Nicolas Solov return and take Zach O'Sullivan's seat at Williams. The powertrain department will also see some more regulation changes, this time joined by the durability department. Mercedes have finally been beat, allowing McLaren to win their second Constructors' Championship and their first since the very first season. Mercedes actually dropped down to third place, with the newest Citroen team moving up to the runner-up spot. Isaac Hadjar had a somewhat similar season, but did drop from P7 to P9. George Russell remained in third place this season despite Mercedes' drop in performance, finishing just behind the reigning champion of Kimi Antonelli, who failed to win back-to-back titles. Instead, we will once again see a brand new champ, and it would come in the form of Citroen driver and Formula 3 icon Tim Tramnitz, who wins the title in just his third season in the sport. Despite finishing at the very top of the sport, Tramnitz would only win 3 races, unlike the runner-up Antonelli who managed 6, and third place Russell who won 4. Former champ Charles Leclerc managed to add another 2 race wins, while Oliver Behrman added just a single race win to his career tally. Now a huge driver market will occur after Charles Leclerc, Isaac Hadjar and Alex Albon all lose their seats heading into the penultimate season. Oscar Piastri has been rather quiet and moves over to Ferrari, with Bortoleto joining McLaren, and Zane Maloney joining the former champs of Mercedes. Taylor Barnard moves over to Haas, opening a seat at the Racing Bulls for Matthias Zagazzetta to come in and make his debut. Citroen swap one French driver for another as they bring Esteban Ocon in to fill their open seat. An open seat at Aston Martin will bring Yuki Tsunoda back, with Jack Crawford joining Red Bull, and the final seat will go to Kush Maini as he joins Alpine. Once again, all performance departments are hit with regulation changes, almost guaranteeing a crazy result next year. Now the regulation changes didn't actually change that much, with the top 4 of the Constructors' Championship remaining the same. McLaren won the title ahead of Citroen, Mercedes and Ferrari. Esteban Ocon came in and improved on Hadjar's performance as he took the car to P6, while Tim Tramnitz was unfortunately able to retain his title and fell to P3. He was overtaken by both former champs, with George Russell moving up to the run-up spot, but was ultimately destroyed by the returning champion of Kimi Antonelli, as this season finished with 101 points separating the top 2. He went on to win a total of 10 out of 16 races, with George Russell just managing 2, while Tramnitz, Bortoleto, Piastri and Esteban Ocon all won a single race each. The final silly season is another massive one, with Pierre Gasly, Kush Maini and Matthias Zagazzetta all failing to keep their seat in the final season. Instead, Franco Colapinto will move to Williams, former champ Tim Tramnitz joins Aston Martin, and Oscar Piastri joins the Citroen team. Yuki Tsunoda leaves Aston Martin once again, this time to move to Ferrari, with the open seat allowing Isaac Hadjar to make his return. A straight swap at Alpine occurs with Ritomo Miata coming in. Jack Crawford takes Zagazzetta's seat, allowing Paul Aaron to move to Red Bull. The final driver swap will then see Oliver Behrman and Zane Maloney swap seats just before the very final year. The powertrain and durability departments are then hit with the final regulation changes. The final season doesn't see much change once again, with the only movement being seen at the very bottom of the standings. Citroen got ever so close to winning a Constructors' Championship, but will end the 10 years failing to do so. Esteban Ocon continued to improve, but just not enough, after he finished in P5. After moving up to the runner-up spot last year, George Russell once again dropped to P3, being overtaken by the newest Citroen driver Oscar Piastri, who made his first appearance in the top 3 at the end of the season. And once again, we saw Kimi Antonelli top the standings as he took another driver's title, just under 60 points ahead of Oscar Piastri. Kimi Antonelli ended the season adding another 5 race wins to his career tally, while both Piastri and Russell secured 4, while Esteban Ocon ended the decade with another 3 race wins. And that does reach the end of the 10 years with a new Citroen Formula 1 team. As a team, they didn't manage any major success, but their driver did so on one occasion. But let's have a look at the decade as a whole to see who topped the numbers. Only 3 teams were able to secure a Constructors' Championship, with the Ferrari team winning just once. It ended quite close between McLaren and Mercedes, but the Silver Arrows would end up on top after they won 5 titles compared to McLaren's 4. Now in contrast, 5 drivers would get their hands on the Drivers' Championship, after Verstappen secured his 5th, while both George Russell and Tim Tramnitz secured their very first. Charles Leclerc managed a trifecta of titles, while Kimi Antonelli managed to win 4 titles at 3 different teams. 15 different drivers stood on the top step, which saw Zach O'Sullivan, Isaac Hadjar and Alex Albon all winning their first race. Pierre Gasly and Gabriel Bortoleto won twice, while Lewis Hamilton managed to win another 4. Tim Tramnitz was actually only managed to win 5 despite his championship win, much like Esteban Ocon, but just shy of Oliver Behrman and Max Verstappen, who managed to win 6. Jumping up to 11 wins, we see Oscar Piastri, while Lando Norris won 19, before another jump up to 29 wins achieved by George Russell. Now despite winning the most titles, Antonelli wouldn't win the most races, after he won 31, but Charles Leclerc would end the simulation with the most wins, after he took 37 Grand Prix victories. That is going to wrap up another video on F1 25. Make sure you drop a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't already. There will be links in the description to the Citroen F1 team mod that I've used, as well as links to my various social media platforms, including my Discord server, which is the best way to receive updates about uploads and to talk to other members of the community. But that is now going to be all from me today, so I hope you have a good day, evening or night, wherever you are, and goodbye.